Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where we're talking about Hysteric Bullet by Garnidelia. And as always, this is the review if you want to see the reaction that has just been done. So pause this, click the little link in the description below, and it'll open up a separate little YouTube player where you can watch the reaction if you want to see the song, if you haven't heard it before, if you just want to see how I initially reacted upon hearing it for the first time. There we go. Is that all clear? Ready for the review? Because here it comes. Don't say I didn't warn you. Alright, so review time. This was interesting because, as always, when you come into a group for the first time, you have no idea when I'm doing this, I have no idea what to expect. I was thinking they look like a band. I was like, is it a rock band? I don't know what to expect from this. Like I said, I got a slight cue from the fact that when I Googled the name, because the name wasn't on, the name of the band was not on their video. It was interesting. When I Googled that, it said it was by them, but it also just briefly showed me that the genre of the song was apparently anime. I was like, okay, what does that mean? Does that mean we're going to be going into terribly stereotypical territory, or are they just calling it that because it's featured on anime or something like that? I must admit, in some ways it did go into, like I say, a very old school, traditionally stereotypical anime territory, and that it was that old synthetic house music, quick, dance, bass on each drum beat. So in that way, it was incredibly familiar, like I said, but it had a sort of a warmth in its familiarity, as I also pointed out during the reaction, in that it felt like something that we don't hear so much now. It was very kind of old school, but it also had the qualities of modern production in that, okay, although the sound effects and things chosen, the synthesizers that were chosen were quite old school in their sound, at the same time the music did feel a lot like it was very sort of sharply, it was well balanced. It had a feeling that it was big, that it was impactful when it needed to be, which some of those older songs didn't sound quite as well mixed. They often didn't sound like they took quite as much advantage of the sound as you can do when you're working with primarily synthetic sounds, because obviously when you're working with primarily synthetic sounds, you can really shape everything perfectly to a T. So this felt much more like it was aware of how to, sound big and impactful as it needed to. So there was a good balance to it. But like I say, all the sounds were fairly old school in how they were conveyed. The songwriting itself was kind of interesting. It ticked a lot of beats that we've heard before. Are pretty quite traditional to Japanese contemporary music, pop and rock crossover music especially. The little key changes, that's especially familiar in things like anime pop. Key change choruses, having a flip in the second verse where you go to a half-time beat instead. All those kind of little changes were very familiar. But again, in a kind of a warm way, it didn't feel so much like it was ripping off or even parodying older music. It's not really that old, but music from about sort of 15, 20 years ago. It sounded less like it was parodying it as it was just simply building on the sort of established sound. The vocal performances were, they were good. Nothing wrong with them. I only could really make out one voice despite the number of people on the screen at any one time. I would say, therefore, I'm not 100% sure. I'm assuming the people we saw in the video are the actual band, but impossible to tell, especially considering it seemed that whereas we'd normally get the band name in the video title, there seemed to be, assumingly, names of the people who were involved. It was a bit weird. The whole thing was kind of weirdly presented, if I'm honest with you. So I'd be really interested, as always, to know if you guys know more about it, as I'm assuming you do, then please tell me more about what the hell this artist is. But when I was listening, I could only hear the one singer. The singer's voice was good, not particularly standout spectacular, but good enough to carry the song. I especially thought that she had really good delivery in the faster bits, in the verses as well. I really liked that. It was very much on point, very much helped accent and make the rhythm stand out. So there was a lot of good points to be said about just the whole way that the song flowed and moved along. Like I say, it had that sort of impact. It had that bounce when it needed to, and it had a more anthemic, chorusy feel when it got round to the hook, round to the central refrain. So the song ticked a lot of boxes for me, as in being kind of nostalgic in a pleasant way, kind of having a real good fun vibe to it, kind of not taking itself too seriously, and, just sort of being a very heartwarming visit to something we've heard before, but done with a feeling of a slight modernisation to it. Now, that obviously counters it against a couple of other things, which is, we're always honest here, we've got to say what we think from both sides. If I were to try and pick criticisms in this, I think the best criticism I could really level against it was just the fact that it in sounding kind of like a reimagining or a progression from sort of the anime style music from 15, 20 years ago, it was left with difficulty forging much of its own identity. I would need to hear more of this artist to really know, but if I was to base this artist on this one song, it would be hard for me to say what really about them stands out. So I am intrigued to see what the real identity of the group is. Maybe get to know from some of their other songs more of what makes them special. This song was good. It was good at being what it was, but it didn't feel special in any particular way. I didn't feel like I was being wowed by, oh, okay, this is a whole new take on this, or this is a really new way of doing this, or this is something where you've really stamped yourselves upon it. It felt more like they were a team of people who had given themselves the simple job to, let's take that music from 15 years ago and bring it into the modern age. But, like museum experts looking after artifacts, like, don't tamper with it, though. Clean it up a bit. Don't tamper with it. So like I say, I must admit that I get the feeling there is more to this artist, or I hope, and would therefore believe as an artistic optimist that there's more to this artist than we're perhaps hearing here. But if you're simply trying to deliver a nice modernisation of that style, then yeah, it did a very good job of it. The video was just seemed to be like a dance video with the occasional cut. Nothing wrong with that. It does mean there's not really much to talk about in regards to it, though. I just thought that it served its purpose. I don't know anything about choreography, but the choreography all seemed fine, seemed nice, seemed to balance well with what we were listening to. It was basically just kind of, it was good. It was good, but maybe not in the most memorable way. It's one of those songs where I think a month from now, will I remember this song? I don't mean like remember it as in, remember the melody and be able to sing it. I mean, will I remember that I reviewed it? And that's something that always worries me, is when something's good, but you kind of can tell that it's not overly memorable. You're thinking to yourself, okay, this artist clearly needs to do something on the next time I listen to them to more cement what their identity is. And that's what I'm looking forward to. But anyway, before that happens, and as this has just happened, let me know what you think. Get in the comments, like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Tell us what you think about this song, this artist, especially if you are either brand new to them or if you've known them for a while, so that you can give us either a fresh take yourself, or you can give us an alternative take as someone who knows a hell of a lot more about what we're listening to here than I do, as someone going into it totally cold. As always, these are just the honest first reactions of someone who's worked in the music industry his entire adult life. But music is subjective to opinion. What you like is what you like, and you have every justification to like it. So please explain us what your justification is for your opinions, and I look forward to hopefully getting involved in some of those comments with you guys. Obviously, if you want to talk to more people about Japanese music, remember we've got our other social medias linked in the description below. Big thank you to everyone on our Patreon for literally keeping this whole ship afloat. Can it be literal if I use a metaphor? Keeping this ship afloat. Literally applying the meaning of the metaphor. Although the metaphor is obviously not literal. Yeah, we're going to have a little English lesson. Someone let me know that as well. Can you literally apply the meaning of a metaphor? Intriguing, huh? Thank you so much to them, and thank you obviously to you for making it through to the end of this rather rambly video. So until I hopefully see you in Japan soon for the next one of these, for now, ciao ciao.